I think that this has been helpful to try to address some of what the regulatory barriers may be, some of the things that we can look to. I think it was Honorable Amelia Flores that mentioned it's not just dollars. There are other issues that that are impediments, and the regulatory side of it is one of that. We've certainly heard that from Ms. Davidson as well, in terms of the other things that we can do to assist with training and capacity building. So as we had, as the president has just recently signed into law the American Rescue Plan, there is funding for state, local, and tribal significant and substantial funding in the American Rescue Plan, which is different than what we did with the CARES Act funding. There is direct reference to the ability for state, local, and tribes to use these funds for water and wastewater infrastructure. Do any of our panelists have any comment about the use of those funds as perhaps an initial down payment on what it might take to meet need? I know that at this point, nobody knows how much will be made available, but I'm trying to assess here where this committee, where this Congress working with this administration can be most helpful in addressing the needs. We know that there are resources. Ms. Davidson, I think, used the figure of we've got to look to $1 billion of need when it comes to infrastructure. But if anyone would like to address what is coming available through the American Rescue Plan for purposes of water and wastewater infrastructure. And I'll just throw that out to whoever might want to respond. Go ahead, Val.
Oyana, Madam Vice Chair. So we think it's a great start, really, really helpful. And but again, we need really significant resources to be able to address this problem. And I want to go back to a question that was asked before about feasibility of programs. And I really appreciate my fellow panelists talking about what's the definition of feasible and by what standard. And I just want to make sure that as we're implementing these programs with the resources that are made available, let's not, even unintentionally, let's not weaponize terms like feasible or sustainable to perpetuate harm to the health of Alaska Native individuals and American Indian families. We really need these services, and our children are being hospitalized every year and are dying simply because we cannot keep them safe because we don't have sanitation facilities. I remember a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago by now, we hosted a former secretary of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services in Gweithluk, and we described what were third world sanitation facilities in our communities. And he said afterwards, you know what, Val? I've been to third world countries, and what they have is better than what we have right here in these United States of America, and that is unacceptable. So while we definitely, the resources that are allocated under the American Rescue Plan, we appreciate that those are being opened for additional water and wastewater infrastructure. And this might be a terrible pun given what we're talking about, but it is just a drop in the honey bucket of the real needs that we know that exist in Native American communities. And so we appreciate that effort because it's more than what we have now, but it's been time to make a significant investment to just eliminate this problem once and for all. We're the greatest country in the world, but in order to achieve that, every community needs to be able to feel that in their homes, and we have that opportunity to do that today.
Ms. Davidson, thank you for that. And it is a reminder that while we have come far, we have so very, very far to go when it comes to meeting basic needs. I will never, never forget a visit that I made to a small village some years ago. It's about 10 years ago now. They've since been able to get running water into some of their community buildings, but at the time there was none, including in their clinic. And I was doing a tour of the clinic, and I asked, well, how do you clean things? And they showed me the Lysol wipes. But not to get too graphic, but in these clinics you do specific procedures, some gynecological procedures where you use medical devices, and the health aide said that she takes these home and boils them in water at her house and then brings them back to the clinic. When you don't have the ability, even in a small clinic, to be able to provide for basic sanitation, this should be shocking to everyone. I look forward to the opportunity to share again with the committee. Several on this committee staff have had an opportunity to go to Alaska. We had a field hearing out in Savunga on St. Lawrence Island. It was focused on housing and housing infrastructure, but with housing also comes water, a toilet. And I think what many saw was pretty shocking. And we don't want to shock people, we want to help people. And so, Mr. Chairman, I really appreciate your focus on this and look forward to some good, strong, innovative ideas coming out of the committee here.